Welcome to Dear Alice, a lifestyle approach to interior design.
Hello everyone, welcome to Dear Alice. Today we are doing the fall 2023 market recap, which means Sue Hall and I went to High Point Market
In North Carolina.
Yes, and we got to see what is up and coming for spring of 24. This is the fashion week for interior designers. Yeah. Much like some people go to New York or Milan, we go to North Carolina and we get to see
just as cool.
What all the furniture makers are up to.
With all the reps.
And the furniture makers are making new silhouettes, and they're also using new fabrics and finishes that are going to be available for this coming spring. And we're just kind of seeing what's new in lighting and rugs and furniture and case goods, mirrors, like accessories, everything across the board we get to go and buy for this next, I guess, for spring. So we wanted to dig into what we were seeing because I think that's always really interesting. I love hearing just different podcasts and everybody talking about what's happening in Fashion Week. And then I love to sort of compare it to what we're seeing in furniture and how those two are kind of, I think
interwoven.
Interwoven, inspiring each other. So so we're going to get into that. But first, I wanted to hear from you guys. We have a fun topic for our little host chat.
We do. Okay, this kind of came about because, anyway, this is going to timestamp this a little bit, but right now we're sitting November 1st is like where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. And we all, are just like still thinking about Matthew Perry and just how tragic that was. And seriously. I've just been reminiscing on just like you keep hearing, I keep reading all these things of just like his previous castmates, things on his book, his like things that he was saying when he released his book and just like his whole story. And I was just like, gosh, Friends was such a huge part of me, like growing up. Like I was in high school. I loved it. Mm-hmm. I think I was it was in the 90s. Yep. Yeah. And I loved it. Like, I think interior wise, we were talking about this, just like as a space that her apartment gave permission to start to just kind of do whatever you want. Yeah. The empty frames on the doorbell, the velvet tufted sofa.
It's like eclectic blocking, at its best.
Yeah. This mixture of all these personalities. And so it was fun to just look at as a space. And the characters were so good. And so we're like, what were like the most influential sitcoms or your favorite sitcoms that you guys love? Yeah, that's a good one. You were saying Friends. I think for me, Friends was in college. It reminded me of that. And it was at a time, I was in college from 93 to 96. And it was a time where we didn't have TiVo or a way of recording a show. And so everybody would get home.
I miss those days.
I know. Everybody would get home and get in front of the TV. Yeah. Like you wouldn't even get up if there was a commercial on unless you had to. Mm-hmm. But because you'd want to like sit and talk. Always a cliffhanger. Yeah, but you'd want to get home, you want to get a plate of food, and you'd want to just sit and wait for it to come on. And then whatever was on before and after it usually got some play too. But Friends was definitely like the thing. And it was lighthearted and it was fun. There were serious parts, but I was saying to Suze earlier, like, I'm so glad that it wasn't like Grey's Anatomy or something that was like heavy that we were all obsessed with. It was like this really cute, quirky, like Phoebe singing in the coffee shop and Joey being ridiculous and,
You could identify with it, like.
Yeah. With one of them.
Some level.
Or there was a crush on one of them, or we all wanted Jennifer Aniston's hair, or whatever it was. But it was just
Matthew Perry was the crush. I thought.
Yeah. Totally. He's the one that you'd marry out of all of them.
Ross was quirky, but Joey was just a big dumb animal, but it's darling. But
it was just this like time capsule, and it was something we had never seen before, and it was obviously like what made all of these people's careers. And it's probably been the highlight of most of their careers. But anyway, for sure, Friends for me as well. That was really sad to hear about Matthew Perry, and makes you reminisce about those times when, we were growing up and in these real formidable ages, and all of us different roommates coming together from different walks of life, like different states and everything else. But we all agreed on one thing, and that was watching Friends at 7:00 p.m.,
I love that.
Yeah. What's your sitcom, Corey?
I love Friends too. Friends reminds me of, I have a different sitcom that I'll mention, but touching on Friends, I had seen bits and pieces and episodes and stuff, but I didn't watch it all the way through until I started working at Alice Lane. And like you and Kendra were like, you have to like watch Friends. So I like literally binged it in like a month.
Like I influenced your life for the better.
You did.
No,
yeah.
I feel like we also influenced them to watch Schitt's Creek.
Sure
Yes.
did.
Yes.
I mean, all of my favorite TV shows, I mean, most of them have come from your guys' recommendations. So good job on that. But my favorite sitcom of all time is How I Met Your Mother. And I don't know if you guys
I haven't seen it. Okay.
Neil Patrick Harris, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's just so, I don't know. It's kind of like Friends. Mm-hmm. It's obviously in New York City, and they actually they like pay homage to to Friends a couple times throughout the series. But it's just about a guy like, you know, finding his soulmate, and that part of it just really like resonates with me. And I watched it when I was like single, and it was it's just it's awesome.
Yeah, it takes you back whenever you watch it. That's so fun.
I was telling Jess the favorite bit that I've seen in all this recap of Matthew Perry's life is when he released his book, and people did like an interview with him, and you read in the book that he had a crush on Jennifer Aniston like the whole time, and he's just like, I realized, that it wasn't, reciprocated, but we were just the best of friends. And then she was with Brad Pitt, so I knew I didn't have a chance. But I thank her for the extra 2% of time I was able to be with her and like look at her versus everyone else. Like I got 2% more of time to look at her. I'm like, oh, that's the cutest. It just like made you want to just like make your list of just like the people you endear and just like be grateful for the extra 5% that you get to spend with them every day or whatever it is. Yeah. And I just loved it.
So good.
So good.
What's yours, Jess?
That Friends.
Oh, it is
Friends.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's just such a time capsule when you think back. And I can picture my apartment, and I can picture it, because when you're in college, it's like fall, winter, spring, you go home. So it's really dark by 7 p.m. and I can picture it being dark, but our windows on and me hurrying to get home and, then just like finding our favorite spots on the couch and just like, sitting as close to the TV as you can and laughing at everything, hanging on every word that they're saying. And it was just such a time capsule. There's been other things like since then, but that one is so formidable because of the time it happened, It
really romanticized living in New York City to me.
Right? Yeah. Well, and also like living with roommates, because that was the first time I had roommates and lived on my own. And they were all doing this, and you're like, man, why can't I get funny guys across the hall like those guys? You know what I mean? Like you want this relationship. Totally. With these.
And you want like a place, like the Central Perk. You know what I mean? Like your place.
Together,
coffee shop, and it's so lovely.
I do feel like there was like lots of singer-songwriters happening up in college, like, people wanting to play, and they still have something. My daughter Jane just moved up to Utah State where I went to college, which has been so nostalgic for me, but they have something called POBEV on like certain nights, and it's poetry and a beverage, which I'm like, this is so Phoebe, right?
Yeah.
More Mike Myers in right?
So I married an
Yeah.
Woman.
POBEV. Anyway,
That's
good
really
times.
cute.
Yeah.
I love
so
that.
fun. Okay, let's get into market.
Okay.
All right. So Suze has lots of visuals, which we're going to put up on the screen for you to be able to see what we're actually talking about, which is so fun about having a podcast available on YouTube. So you finally can see what we're talking about. So first up, I think, was color. We just saw a lot of color again.
Yes.
Let me say
the heavens. I'm so excited.
Let me say this for runway. We saw a lot of color. I think for runway, red was number 1 and green was a really close second. And depending on what you love, you might have seen that differently.
And like maize and citron.
Yes.
We also saw it's like a top third.
Yes. Definitely. Speaking of maize and citron, you've come dressed for the season. You've got a red ring on and a red pair of specs. So definitely. So we're seeing the same exact thing in home, right? The one outlier that I'm kind of mad about.
Silver?
Silver. It goes along with that. No, it's gray. It was huge on the runway. And they said
nails and
it's part of like that whole stealth wealth trend, which is like being very underscored, like trying to be sort of quiet and luxurious about it and not wearing a lot of vibrancy and trying to catch people's attention. And so like you're seeing women wear like pleated trousers in gray paired with a gray sweater. It's very monochrome still. But I feel confused by it because we've been in such this gray time for so long.
Is it a warm gray, like leaning towards taupe, or no?
I would say it's it does have some richness to it. I mean, it depends on who you're buying it from, right? Like every brand is going to have their own take on it, but the runway brands are usually the higher end, and there was kind of a depth to the gray. But it's still sort of just medium. It's not charcoal.
But there's not like a lot of violet or any other like contributing hues to it. I feel like it's just gray.
It's very modest. It's not a lot of skin. It's again going with the stealth wells. So like I saw women in like a full turtleneck sweater, cashmere with the trousers and a beautiful belt. It's 90s all over again, right? So it's not like stealth wealth is like trying to throw a lot of cleavage around in short skirts and trying to be, you know, sexy and gray. It's very covered up, very buttoned up, you could wear it to work. You could wear it to dinner with a pair of heels. But I'm just like, I don't know if I can be here for it. I'm not craving to go out and invest in gray pieces because I'm so tired of it from the last decade.
Yeah,
so that's the only outlier that I've seen so far is the color gray. That being said, let's get into market.
I guess some showrooms that we kind of avoided.
Yeah.
Are probably still dressed in gray, but we avoided them.
Probably Bernhardt is 100%. All gray and silver. Yeah, and black and white. Yeah.
They usually are.
So. Yeah.
I have a question with brass. I love brass. Mari does. Yeah. Green, really in. To me, like a green and like a cool metal tone, like it just doesn't vibe to me.
Also,
so
the 90s, I will tell you, because my dad's eye clinic was hunter green, brass shelving, brass ducks in legal offices. Like, I don't know what it was about a brass mallard. Like, it's always
just a real hunter of a thing. Yeah, hunter and a gatherer, like a Ralph Lauren.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's a plaid. I think
rich mahoganies.
So I feel you on brass. We've been saying forever, like nickel is coming. We're seeing like all the Kardashians are only wearing silver. All of these up and coming brands are making earrings available in brass and nickel, but they're not. Nobody's stepping away from brass. So it's still very much a preference. We're still mixing metals in the home.
Like, I still think it's done
We're
in
not
moderation.
going all in unless somebody really doesn't want it. We worked with one influencer from the South, and we had something really beautiful that was brass. Oh, the etagere. And she was like, I'm only using nickel. That's it. And she has this old historical home in the South. And I was like, fascinated by, because I feel like if you do interiors, you've got to have a love for both because they cycle in and out so much. It's hard to just stay in one metal, you know? Otherwise, it also gets to be a little bit flat. So I think it's interesting to have it in the mix. So there's still a place for both. And I think fashion runway wise, we're still seeing gold. That being said, right now, patent chrome shoes are like it. I keep seeing these really shiny silver shoes. Coach just had a big thing on the metallics. They have purses and these really glossy, shiny chrome nails are a thing right now.
The nail game.
Yeah. So I do think silver in a really turned up way is happening. And I know there's this whole like, what's it called? The shoe theory, wrong shoe theory is going on where they're saying if you wear the wrong pair of shoes with your outfit, that's the in thing to do. And so I feel like these chrome shoes are giving everybody a chance to just wear them with whatever and get really noticed for it, I guess, along with the fingernails, right? Yeah. So anyway, interesting. It's an interesting time to be alive.
Reflectors.
Yeah, and it depends on like where you're from and like what your life experience is. But for me, because I graduated in 1993, I've seen all of this stuff before. And in a big way, I'm like, I don't want it. I already did it. Like there's certain parts, like, okay, here's one. I cannot stand the idea of wearing a pair of pleated pants. To me, it makes you look like you've got this really fluffy apron of a tummy underneath happening. Yeah. It adds volume to a part of your body where you don't want volume. Now, unless you are incredibly thin and it drapes really lovely, it's just not for the average girl like me. Yeah. It's just not going to be flattering for me. If I was built like Mari Streetman, I would totally wear a pair of pleated trousers. Mari Place, sorry.
It's okay.
Mari Place.
I know Mari Streetman too. She's
sorry.
Great. Yeah.
Yes, I have a neighbor named Mari also. Yes, I would wear them if I was Mari, and also if I didn't grow up in the 90s. But I had pleated pants, and you know, and I was a young teenager then, and I didn't have a postpartum body, and you know, I'm not like a normal girl, so I just don't find them to be super flattering. If they're really oversized, also oversized is hard for me because I did it in a way, like the super oversized, is hard. I can go a little bit, but really, really oversized, like some of the girls are doing, is hard. So it's interesting. Like you take what you like from it, I guess, and then leave the rest. And to others, the whole thing is really fresh and fun, and they have to try it all, which is really fun. Yeah.
I feel like nostalgia is really big right now across the board. In everything, and even more so because I've loved like music from every like era. In the early 2000s, when I was really into music, I was diving, into 60s and 70s and 80s. And the resurgence of bands then that were like coming up was just, it didn't have as big of an impact on the current music scene. And there are bands coming back from like the early 2000s and I'm like, that's crazy. And I went to a festival a couple weeks ago in Vegas, and the amount of people that were there from like 10 years old to 50 it blew my mind. Like this just still, people love it, and I kind of feel like that's what I'm seeing in fashion as well. It's like everyone from my era is like loving that like late 90s stuff that we used to wear. And it just feels like recapturing our youth.
So totally.
Yeah. It's weird that that's happening, but it's a big thing, I think.
I agree.
We were kind of like analyzing a couple fashion magazines just like on our way to market just to try and like compare notes from that to what we'd be seeing. And there was just like a lot of like twin sets. There was a lot of just like simpler, almost like 1950s profiles, like more balloon skirts and things like that. And we're just like, what is this kind of like, I don't know, transition back to a simpler time I made a note of. I don't know. It's interesting to just like see like culturally what's happening in the world versus like how we're responding to it. We saw a lot of that, but then you're also seeing this like polished punk kind of thing, where like there's a lot of deconstruction. Now this is fashion. We're not seeing like furniture frames ripped apart, but there's a simplification for sure in frames and like details and contours that are added just so that we know that they cared, but it is overall arching a more simpler massing. I feel like furniture.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, the oversized, overstuffed stuff is gone. The weird thing that I'm seeing popping up again is the bun foot. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, and I'm not sad about it. I know.
Are you? I thought you were going to say the opposite.
What is that?
Know.
It's when you have like, it almost looks like a hamburger bun for a foot. On a chair, bigger than that, but like really bull-nosed, right?
Maybe it's because I'm into the bull-nose thing right now. That I remember when I first started seeing it come back. Maybe it's just like dependent on the frame. If the frame is really cool and it has the bun foot, therefore it makes the bun foot cool.
Yeah,
I don't know, or maybe it's the proportion of it. It's not as just like a smashed bun as it used to be, and like really wide and fat.
Yeah,
like it's a little. I don't know.
It's gonna take me a minute.
It's feeling sculptural to me, and I'm like into it. When I first saw it back, I was like, I'm not ready, but I'm warming up. I'm warming up to it.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a timestamp because it was the first time, and so furniture in my mind anyway, it's such an investment. It's so expensive that I'm like, I gotta just choose the thing that I'm never gonna tire of. I'd rather see like a plinth base or a block and taper or something that isn't gonna be like the bun foot that was on my mom's living room couch. Yeah.
I'm just like in a mood.
With the scatterback pillows, Mom. Remember the one in the living room?
I did not a single bullnose, but a double bullnose in emergency remodel. That's
so different though than the bun foot. But I feel you because it's arcuated. And the double bullnose, you guys.
It looks so rad, Suze.
Yeah, I know. We're not going to talk about the emergency remodel, but
just on the reflection of like reaching back.
No, I was saying we're not going to talk about it in the host chat, but we do need to pay homage because the bathrooms are turning out so good. We need to show pictures up here when we have a completed, just really quick, just tell them you have sinks, we have plumbing, we have countertops. Like we're so close.
We're so close. The plumbing is almost done. The showers and the baths. Like we had to switch out a valve.
You can brush teeth though in sinks, right?
Totally brush
and you can
teeth,
go potty.
I don't want to move stuff up until it's all done.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
like, just because there's still workers being done, I don't want their dust on my toothbrush. And anyway, so I'm waiting. Just like I want it to be done, and then I want to move in. Yeah, so I'm just like barren.
Delayed gratification.
But I go up there. We hung our mirror in the boys' bath, and we hung my art. So Tom hung 2 pieces of art for me, the toilet paper holder. Like things are feeling so good.
Good.
So anyway,
she's so
I
close.
see light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe.
Yeah.
I came and measured for mirrors in my shower door yesterday.
Legit.
Hallelujah. So anyway, it's coming. But I made like a last minute call when we did the countertops, and she sent me the price. I'm just like, can we double bullnose that? Can we like do this? And she's like, cool. Yeah. Anyway.
Was she receptive to that, or it's like, oh my God.
Totally.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she was great. She's like, it is 3 cm, so that will like raise it. So it's a little bit taller than 36, like 37 maybe. Mm-hmm. Just tall for me, like, but I kind of love it.
Susan's petite. She could shop in the petite. So you ride the line. You're 5'4". Yeah. So you can shop either way. Yeah. Okay. Back to colors.
Back to colors. Sorry.
Yes. So we were just talking about how yellow, green, and red stoplight colors were huge. What they were saying in the fashion magazine, they're calling them candy colors, which red, yellow, and green would also be like kind of jewel tones. Mm-hmm. However, like it's missing navy blue because that's a major jewel tone. I'm always having a navy blue moment.
You are.
Yeah.
Since the very beginning, she's always been navy.
Also, like my birthstone is peridot because I'm an August birthday. And when I turned 16, my mom let me get a birthstone ring, which was, I think, a thing back in the 90s. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want my birthstone, but I want September's birthstone, which was indeed sapphire.
That's awesome.
Navy blue. Yeah. But they're saying candy colors were a big thing. Patent leather, glossy, camel leathers, kitten heels, preppy sweaters, precious metals, metallics in fingernails.
Jewels.
Yes.
A lot of jewels.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all
it feels a little bit like, remember J. Crew when they were like big on all the big
costume jewelry?
Yeah. It's that again.
Yeah. But
and it feels too soon. Like to me, I'm like, that's early 2000s.
Not as chunky of like profiles as it was back then, but it is definitely back. And there's like this glossy. I'm curious to watch it after the holidays. What happens like into the spring if it dulls down? Because I feel like during holidays we always see
lots
a bit
of jewelry,
like shine and sheen and crystals and all the things.
Yeah.
And then as we start to like simplify and pull all the decorations back, then it will like
totally
get honed again a little bit.
I've been seeing a few people wearing fur again. Yeah.
Real fur.
Yeah. Like camel colored. Yeah. So pretty. I know that's going to be controversial. Controversial?
Yeah. Controversial.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
I don't know why that feels wrong in my brain. Anyway, yeah. So that's fashion. We're seeing similarly as far as like fabrics go, fresh, bright. We were curious if the boucle was going to be gone. What we saw was colored boucle. It's been white boucle forever, and we're like, we can't.
I feel like the boucle that we've seen a lot, that y'all have probably already seen too, is like it's not a dense boucle. I feel like when I like remember boucle from like going to school and things, like it was dense. Like when you think of mohair, you think of like dense mohair. It's not like an anemic version. I think everybody introduced some type of boucle that was a little bit more anemic and a little bit more
dry,
spaced out,
spotty
in its thickness. And I feel like I feel like we're getting more textural too, so they're getting a little bit more dense. I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Do you think any of that is trying to just play into a trend, but then tweak it a little bit rather than it being like a fresh new take on something?
For sure. Should be. Yeah. Because we saw some boucles with a dark ground, and then the boucle themselves were still off-white, but it'd be sitting on like a grayish brown ground. So it kind of read differently. It could be a reaction to the market. What you're saying is like, oh, boucle's in. Let's all make boucles again if we're fabric makers. That'd be an interesting thing to actually talk to some of the fabric mills about. Is this a response to the fact that everybody's wanting an off-white boucle? Because some of us are a little bit fatigued on it.
Yeah.
But then other people are just catching on and they want it.
We chose some boucle fabrics. I feel like it was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've seen it a lot, and so it's like,
and we're trying to we want to give them something new, but they just keep buying them, and so it depends on where you're at on the compendium. How do you say
pendulum?
The pendulum. Where you are on that. If you still really really want it. It's so neutral, it's going to look good forever. And we've always believed if you're going to use a white, use a high textured white or something that's going to make it interesting and not just phoning it in, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, they're still here. They are doing colored versions of boucles. Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Along with color, we saw a lot of pattern.
Pattern on pattern too.
Yes.
Like there was a lot of pattern. That kind of reminded me a little bit of the 90s.
Yes.
And just tradition in general. Like when you look at traditional spaces, we've been looking through this ARC Digest most recently. It's called Reinventing Tradition. And you keep seeing like pattern on pattern. You're also seeing color blocking, but the patterns that they do have multiple of them, which is...
What's an example of pattern on pattern?
Like we saw a lot of upholstery, like chairs, sofas in patterns, which I think
we're sitting on a patterned rug.
It's more risky.
That's right.
Maybe in a wallpapered room.
That I mean, it sounds very 90s.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Definitely.
Yeah. And you can take it like back, like historically, and like there's like really beautiful versions versus some of the 90s things that we're
You
thinking
can
about.
picture too, like one of those Ralph Lauren ads for like, let's just say a bedroom where the bedspread is maybe ticking and then the sheets have a little dot to them or a little paisley and and it's sitting on top of a beautiful rug with maybe a pattern drape, and you know what I mean, it's just like everything has some sort of scale of pattern and the mix is good. I'm seeing women wear a skirt in one pattern and a top in a different pattern, and I love it so much. I wish I had the courage to do it. Like I think, I need to do that. I'll also see two different colorways of the same color, like a mustard skirt with a butter yellow top or a bright yellow top with like canary top with a mustard skirt, and it's so cute.
A tonal, like
like that. And then they'll take it all the way down to the shoes, or maybe they'll pop a blue shoe or something with it. So that feels like real fashion to me, because you're taking risks and you're really showing up in a way that not everybody can do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's hard. It takes guts to do it. But those that, maybe a pattern tight. Sue, you had on the cutest blue fishnets yesterday?
On Monday.
Oh, Monday, yeah. They're so cute. You wear fishnets so well, which is also a massive trend.
I know, we saw a lot of like diamonds, quilting, that type of thing, pattern happening in fashion as well as in the interior stuff. Yeah. Lattices, all that's big.
Yes. So. Yes, very 90s.
I know.
Yes, it's back. It's here.
Back.
So fun. Wallpaper is still here to stay.
Yeah.
More and more brands are coming out of the woodwork with them. The patterns are feeling really big, very murally.
Very intentional. I feel like the colorways and things, they're reaching deep back in archives, I think. And then they're just like saturating the color. I think and it's really fun. It's kind of like Mardi Gras. Yeah. A bit.
It felt like when we were first starting to wallpaper things, we were just more like grass cloth, or you know what I mean, like
very understated.
Yeah, and then we've slowly gotten there, and now it's on full blast. Like it is
up to 11.
Hot sauce.
It is at a full 11, and at Market we were just seeing the most. Felt good to be in those spaces.
No, it's
I don't know. Those that lived through the wallpaper and the unwallpapering to wallpaper again, like we did in the 80s and 90s. It'll be interesting to see like what generations are going all in with it. But I think some people, like my mother, I can't see her ever wallpapering anything ever again. I think
she's over it.
Yeah, we wrote it so hard though. Like we killed it,
That's awesome.
Yeah. We wallpapered the most out of everybody in the 80s and 90s, and I don't think it's available to us anymore.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I here's the thing. I have wallpaper in my house, so I'm not afraid of it, but it's also so underscored, but I've been in my house for 8 years, and the wallpaper I did is so
it's so neutral.
It's textures.
Like it's really pretty though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I visited an older client this morning that we're doing another project with in Holiday, which is a great little city here in Utah. And I had to use her potty closet, and I forgot the Christian LaCroix wallpaper that we did in there. And it is like the field is dark, like almost black, and the pattern is so fun. And I'm like, I'm still like, I would do this tomorrow.
Oh, that's the best.
And she has another in her pantry. We did another Christian LaCroix one because it was just like, it was out and it was fashionable and it felt archival too. And I'm like, I would never tire of it because it's so special. Yeah. I think that's the difference, is trying to find the one that's special, that doesn't feel like you could identify the designer.
Totally.
I don't know, because even then, if you didn't know it was Christian LaCroix, you wouldn't know that that's who designed it.
Yeah.
But I know there are some designers where I'm just like, we've seen it, we know exactly, the person that designed it.
Yeah.
And that'll timestamp you. But if you're looking to do something timeless and you're worried about wallpaper, just like go into your emotional bank and see like, what is it that like just makes my engine
lights
roar.
You up. Yeah.
And that's what you should put on your walls. Cause
definitely.
I was not sad.
Yeah. And her house has probably been done for at least 5 years. Yeah.
7 maybe. I don't know.
So good.
Do you guys kind of feel that as long as it's in good taste, kind of like right now, is it like anything goes?
Yeah.
It's like
For sure.
You be you type of thing. I know that's, a very
definitely.
But back to your like question about like gold and silver, and I'm like, you figure out what your rhythm is and what your eye like loves to see. I love the mix. I know you love the mix. And I think like one without the other feels flat and not finished. So if everyone's just like, should I like if I have gold on my light fixture and I have gold on my knob, should I do gold on my hardware for my windows? I'm like, no, just do an iron or something that's just going to disappear and not call attention. Like, know where to call attention to.
Yeah, not everything needs to be a decorative finish.
No, it doesn't.
That's
like, it feels like a set almost.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was like a book that we carried back in Orem, and it just had all these like really decked out, just like mature ladies. What book was that? Anyway, and as you go through each of them, and they were like all really well dressed, and gosh, I'm going to find out. I think I have it at home. Anyway, you look at their jewelry game, it's all mixed. It's all mixed metals, these cats. And they look so fly, like they have seen the world. And I'm like, that's like a house.
Yeah.
Mix your metals.
Yeah.
And that way, when one kind of like goes in and out, and you might favor one more than the other, and that'll be a predominant one. But don't like negate the others, and don't say like, hey, I'm going to get rid of all of them. Because I think that's what we see when we go into homes that were built in the 80s and the 90s that were tearing out the bright golds because they did everything.
Yeah.
They're plumbing. They're like long-lasting, hardy things in that bright gold, and then that's when you have to get rid of it. But we will see influxes, and you can add things here and there that are topical. But I think just like know what your game is, and then you can be influenced by, if that chrome shoe is your game, wear it. Yeah. Maybe don't put it all over your house.
For sure.
But wear it.
It would be so much easier to wear and so much less of a commitment. I also am seeing
try it out
the silver leather or patent leather, faux leather, pants and skirts. Yeah, just like full metal jacket.
To each their own.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not that's
Yeah.
not my thing, but I think it's rad.
Yeah, but if it
I'm
were, you can get it right now.
But even just like the leather pants and everything, I think the sheen is fun. I'm into it.
Time and place. Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
Yep.
Okay, new tech. We saw a lot from Visual Comfort. They were doing a lot of portables as a new category, which is fascinating. We have only seen a very slim sliver of a window of this happening, which was in an outdoor lighting brand called Tala. They're out of the UK, Tala. And they had an outdoor portable, really cute lantern. They partnered up with Faro and Ball. You could charge it with your cell phone charger and then take it outside, turn it up, turn it down. You can have as much light as you want or different. Guys, that was like 4 or 5 years ago. They are doing it in such a big way at Visual Comfort. They've got a patent pending light bulb right now that magnets in. You touch the top of it as a touch thing. You can dim or have it as bright as you want or turn it off.
Do you guys remember these?
You can take the light bulb from lamp to lamp if you want, but they also had miniatures so that you can put it in the middle of your dining table or two in the middle of your dining tables. No cords anywhere. You're not going to need cords for your lamps potentially. And then you just charge the light bulb, and then you can bring it around your house. I don't know how long it's going to take to adopt. I don't know if this is like electric cars, but I will say there is a real case for not having to plug in a lamp because...
Especially like on a console behind a sofa or something.
Guys. And that's like everybody's biggest pet peeve is seeing the cord. And so we're always trying to like figure out Velcro, zip ties, follow the line
right
of the
now
console.
They're only doing it on these miniature lamps and maybe they haven't gotten to the great big ones or floor lamps or whatnot, but this category I think is the future.
It's huge.
And it is, it's so massive for them. In fact, Suze went to go take a picture and he's like, do not take a picture of that light bulb. It is patent pending. We are working on that. Like, it was like.
So that will not be on YouTube.
People, 4 grown men wrestled Sue to the ground and broke her phone. So just know, you guys, give me that back. Something is coming in a big way for lighting. And I think it's going to be really, really great. As long as people are okay.
Just like it's 2023. How do we still have cords on our lights?
Yeah.
For real.
Also, I'm like, Tesla, bounce on this game, please. But thanks, Visual Comfort, for taking the lead.
Yeah, it was
so
time.
Happy.
Yeah, so I think portables for the dining table will become more commonplace.
And we actually went to a dinner while we were in High Point, and they had a version of it, and it was so nice. They were just like these really slim little lamps that had like light on them, but it didn't feel
the dimmest amount of light.
It was lovely though. It didn't feel like a fake like flame or anything. Like it was really subtle, and it was lovely.
Yeah, just a little portable lamp with a switch. So we were like, yes, it was time.
The morning before we went to the showroom, we're just like, there you go.
It's like, dang it, why didn't we think of this? It's really good. Yeah. Also within lighting, lots of sustainably sourced natural things from arteriers. They are so conscious of how they're impacting the universe, the world, global warming. They were using, what was that weed as?
It was kind of like a kudzu of sorts. So kudzu is just like an invasive plant, like in the South, and you see it everywhere and it takes over everything. I can't remember, but like types of plants like that where it is invasive and it's ruining environments. And so they're taking that people are tearing it out anyway. They're drying it, killing it, seeing what they can do to manipulate it and like doing lighting with it.
Chandeliers.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Really
it kind of feels a little bit like pallet check, like wovens, like woven raffias. You wouldn't be the wiser that they're taking weeds, things that need to be chopped down, taken, harvested, and making.
They've always been. I think they always like show a big presence in the sustainable game.
Yeah. And when you talk to her about how they're creating it, why they're creating it, it's a really, really great story and it feels really good. And I know that that's really important for a lot of people, a lot of designers that are LEED certified. So I think Arteriers is doing a fantastic job of it. Speaking of which, they had an incredible green chandelier that we saw everywhere. Yes, let's talk about the color green.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was big on the runway. This is big for the home. This was big in the 90s. And we are seeing it everywhere. One thing that we're excited about was Paul Moreau is a French artist. She is a national treasure for them and protected under the French law or something like that. Yeah. I forget. But really exciting to see a lot of her works be resurfaced with
full bodied of her work.
Soicher Marin.
Been seen before.
They scanned in, I can't remember, like 130 works, and they're going back to scan in like 90 more. They're making it into wallpapers. The lily pads are green. They're going to come up on the screen for you guys. And then just, painted furniture was really big still, and in the color green. Green cushions on outdoor for Hable collection. I love that for outdoor.
Too.
Because most people are like
fresh.
Beige, right, with rattan type of a look. And so having white frames with green cushions and white welts was so like estate, like
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it felt like fresh,
really
like
lovely
grass on your upholstery.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
It's good, right?
Yeah. No, the color green was everywhere. The color, we talked about yellow, but do we need to bounce back to this yellow real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. There was in Highland House, they had that velvet yellow sofa.
Yeah.
That little lemon drop of a thing. And it was so cute. Mm-hmm. And again, when you see like a whole something upholstered, like in just one saturation, you get used to it and it becomes neutral. I think that's how I'd feel about that.
Yeah.
Tom and I, our first sofa was like yellow velvet.
Oh, no way.
Like that. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, I still love it, 20 years later. And so anyway, yellow stands the test of time. And it feels just like, again, if you like golds, you'll like yellow, and I think it's just so happy.
I feel like you get so much credit for yellow. It's really happy, and most people don't dare do it. Mm-hmm. But there's so many shades that you can play with, and when you do it, you're like, did you hire a decorator? How are you pulling this off? Where are you finding the color yellow in the world? Gold. Like, you have to custom make something if it's yellow. You know what I mean? When we fill it in showrooms, we just light up. And we love it so much that it makes me think, why am I not using yellow?
Your yellow mohair cherry in your entry.
Yes.
The second you put that in there, like your whole house changed. Like the attitude of it changed. Like it like lit on fire.
Yeah, it's true.
And it was like, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
You would never not want to have that.
Well, it feels so classic too. I mean, it's paired with a white frame.
It's like from Jackie O too about it.
Yes.
She always like sported yellow really beautifully.
Totally.
So
yeah,
I'm here for it.
I feel like back to green, when I first noticed green in my life, I don't know about you guys, Kate Spade came on the scene. It's probably been 30 years. So it's time again. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, what is this color? If anybody was carrying green, it was Kate Spade, and they got so much credit for it. And we're kind of back there again where green is like this really fun, fresh grass green. It's not your 90s hunter green. It's got an energy to it, a vibrancy, a happiness.
A real depth to it too.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm really excited for it.
It's not muddy though.
Yeah. Green's your favorite color, Suze. How do you feel about the greens that you saw?
I'm so thrilled about them. I think the spectrum of the greens is exciting me.
Yeah.
Because you saw, like, even on Hable's, that outdoor collection, like, there was more yellow in it, and I love that green, but then I also loved, like that high gloss on that table, I thought was done so well. And again, it's just, there's a level of depth in green. I think we've talked about this. Green has the most, like on the color wheel, has the most shades because it is so broad, and it's what we see in nature. And so it's nothing new to our eyeballs. I feel like people look beautiful in green. So I think having it in our space is like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it just makes you happy. And especially like on a dark winter day in Utah, you'd be so happy to have green or yellow in your house.
I agree. Stop it. So good.
Yeah. I love to eat too. We saw, I have a couple on the shot that we're going to show you. Like even in the china, you saw green and it just felt so regal.
Yeah.
You know, I love that the goblets.
And I think food looks beautiful paired with green. I mean, it's like a vegetable or a garnish. So we know that it's one of those colors that's going to plate really, really well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lovely. Okay, let's move on to the warmer, the reds.
Let's go to red.
Yeah.
I'm also excited about red.
Yes, I am too. So we saw fully upholstered sofas in it, chairs with contrast welds. We saw in artwork, in textiles, this cabinet from Highland House that is so beautiful, high gloss red. Yeah.
So if you look at the most recent edition of Arc Digest, this Reinventing Tradition, one of their first pages in here, it's of this like red lacquered room. And it's just, it feels timeless. And again, for traditional rooms, I remember I did an internship in Scotland, and one of the rooms was just like in lacquered in red. We did a library in DC that we're about to shoot. Yeah. It's lacquered in red. And there's something so stately and so on purpose and unapologetic that it just like, it takes balls to do for sure, but it will pay you back in spades. Like,
yes,
it shows so much guts, and it feels so good to be in a fully encapsulated red space.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll show this picture in a second.
I agree.
Talking.
So good. The Polymero parrots, it's almost more of a pink with green on it, and it's kind of the bottom middle when you guys are looking at these images, but it just brings a space to life. Oh, so pretty.
Yeah. There's several rooms in this edition, but when you pair any other color blocks with it, it just like it ignites.
Yeah.
It's so darn pretty.
With the rich like wood tones too. Like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
And I love that it's not like a brick muddy red. Like it's just like cherry, dynamite red. It's really, really good.
I think if people are going to introduce red into their space, one way that we saw it in Fashion Week a lot was there's this LOEWE sandal that they did. It's a flat sandal. It laces up. It's got these two really cute discs on the side. I think it's sold out everywhere, but women would just wear like a light blue Levi's with this red strappy sandal and get so much credit. You could also carry a bag. So it's almost more of an accessory on runway. I think now we're seeing full head to toe looks for now that we're already a season in and they were starting to show, more clothing on. So you can go head to toe. We're seeing scenes like this in Arc Digest where it is floor to ceiling on the walls. You can just do it as a piece. You can do it in artwork, as a chest in a really key space like an entryway. It depends on your love for the color red. Yeah. How would you use red in a space? Or what was your favorite use of it at market?
I love this cabinet. Again, this high lacquered cabinet, because I think a piece of case good, I think gives you a lot of credit, even if it's not in a red room. I love red when I see it with another tone. Like even when I'm like on my nails, I usually have red with something. I always have a red lip. I have something because it does something to other colors. Yeah. And it just like pulls out all the good tones of other colors as well.
I love that.
And so we recently did a home down in St. George, just 4 hours south of where we're at right now. And she's like very British. And so in her, she like loved wallpaper. She loves William Morris. She loves all these things. And she picked out this wallpaper finally on her laundry room. And we're like, and the cabinets were like this shade of blue. And they're like, what should we do on the ceiling? And I'm like, we should do it like a red, like it's some tone of something. Cause we see that in the wallpaper. And this is like this British interior and you just like want to like feel something. Yeah. And so we pulled out like a red up there. And so I think on a ceiling, your fifth wall, I think is a great place to do it depending on what you're doing around. I even teased with like our doors, like down the hallway, painting those red. Like all of them would be so much fun.
So cute.
Right? No one would be sad to be like, the second red door on your left.
Yeah.
go there,
go there.
And it looks
it's
good
a destination.
but it looks good with other colors too. You compare it with like any outfit. That's why like red lipstick is so long lasting. That's why like doing a red nail is always a good idea.
Totally.
Because like it always is going to look good.
Yeah.
And so like where I have like different colored room on all these rooms, red looks good in all of them. It looks good in blue. It looks good in green. It looks good in any of these spaces. And it's just happy.
Yeah.
So looks fun with art too. Again, I was going to say this piece of art, we actually saw this in an antique store, and
the image right in the middle.
Yeah, there's an image right in the middle, but the contrast of like the body of this woman and then the whole background is these different shades of just like really intense, intentional reds it's so fantastic. Anyway, that was probably one of my favorite pieces of red. That, and then just seeing it, like, I especially liked, there was a red velvet chair, and then they used, instead of like contrast welt, they took another fabric that felt almost like a Chanel tweed, and they did a piping around with it, and it felt so Chanel. And I'm like, I don't think you'd ever get tired of that. Yeah. If it was the right shade of red that wasn't trendy necessarily, but it was your shade of red. Yes. I think that's the key on any of these things, is just like find your shade of it.
I like that.
Not every shade's going to look good, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
That's so great. Let's hit woods really quick.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
We were seeing,
long-winded today.
No, you're great. We're starting to see wood tones warm up. So what that means for, I also think that the finish on furniture is getting finer again, if that makes any sense.
You're so excited.
I am. I've been so frustrated because we've been seeing like reclaimed woods or things that are knocked down or things that look like it could give you slivers as furniture for so long, right? This like European white oak that's dried out, and you're like, man, I wish I had a finish on it so I could feel like I could spray it and wipe it down. You know what I mean? But it's so dry. You're like, am I going to ruin the waxed earthiness of it all? Or anyway,
is it going to soak up stuff? And
yeah. And it's hard to know, like, what am I paying for on a dry, reclaimed piece of furniture where you know what you're getting with a really refined, beautiful hand, beautiful finish. You know, you could wipe it and clean it and dust it, and it's going to hold up over all the years. So we're seeing really, really well-made pieces. And the woods themselves are, you're starting to see those deeper. So I know when we were building this store, like a year and a half ago, 2 years making decisions for it, we intentionally went with a medium to dark oak floor in here. We just knew that blonde floors had been a thing for so long that we needed to start getting deeper again, because we were going to be selling furniture in here and showing different trends, and we needed to lead with that. So I think we're going to just keep seeing more and more of that. Walnut's always a classic, but you're going to see a lot of different international woods even that don't grow in the States, because so much of the furniture is being made all over the world. Yeah. Inlays, hard things to do. Burl, really hard things to do. Eggshell.
Maple's eye. Yeah,
bird's eye maple.
Bird's eye maple. I'm like, a maple's eye.
Yeah. This one looked like rosewood. So some of these species are just really, really pretty, where the wood gets to be the hero. So I think we'll start seeing more stain grades. Again, we've been in paint grade world for so long, which means our case goods have been painted and you're not seeing the wood grains come through. An eggshell. Yeah. Is that ostrich egg? Yeah. Yeah. The top of egg the piece with the polka dots. Like egg lamaze. Yeah. So pretty. Yeah, the dark frames on the dining chairs, on the bench.
There's real refinement to it, though. It's not just like wood to be wood and wood to be heavy. I think there's there's a very select grain that they're choosing. Yeah. And select portions of it, which are probably premium, I imagine. Yeah. Because they all feel very special.
These all feel small scale grain as well. Yeah. You know? So
it's not like big, massive cathedrals that like kind of get lost on fine furniture. Yeah. So
agreed.
Yeah. So I love it. I like the richness. I think, again, back to just like the contrast of colors and tones with each other. It feels good. It represents a color. Yeah. Again, versus kind of being bleached out.
For sure.
I'm into
Well, Susan and I were in High Point. We were able to sit on a panel with Traditional Home Magazine, who moderated it. And one of the things that the moderator brought up was, she was saying that the word transitional in interior design is kind of like the fibromyalgia of the medical world. And it's just kind of this common broad term that covers everything, right? And so it gave us the giggles, because the word transitional has been used so long. Also by us, we've abused that word plenty times. But I feel like right now in the marketplace, we're seeing traditional in a big way. We're seeing it being reinvented, and we're seeing, furniture being made really well again. And then we get to see people's interpretation of it, right? Their different interpretation of pattern and color and wood grain and feet styles on furniture and just different mixed materials coming in. So anyway, so you had a really good quote about what's a good way to do traditional again.
Yeah, and I think, again, if y'all should go buy this this ARC Digest. It's really great, and I think it does a good job of just talking about this, like, reinventing tradition. Because I think that's something we all like, back to just, like, we all want to reminisce or be nostalgic on something in the past, something that reminds us of our loved ones, or our parents, or our grandma, you know. We want a piece of that in our home. But how do we make it fresh? What is this reinventing of tradition? It's probably not like big empire swags and like really heavy things anymore. It's like us bringing our layer into traditional details and spaces too, or depending on where you live and what that framework looks like. If it's an old New York penthouse, then you're going to have probably some really great traditional moldings you're going to contrast with. If you live in a 1970s one ranch house, I'm going to bring tradition in other ways in my framing of my art, you know, and my accessories and things. So Hugo Toro is a designer. And I loved what he said. He said, "I like to engage with traces of the past as a way of preserving the soul of a place." I thought that was so great, to preserve the soul of a place, you know, and again, to kind of accentuate the best parts. And then you get to add in what you believe in and what you represent. But to completely throw everything out, I think is just, I've said it before, it's just a disservice to a space and an environment that's been built on the earth, you know?
Also to something that was great at one point. It's like, go back and, I don't know, I feel like music's doing the same thing. They're picking and pulling the pieces out of even production or the, you know, things in the past that were good, and then using them in a new way. And I feel like that's, you know, reinventing traditional is that it's like, man, this was great and it deserves to have like its time again, you know?
Yeah. We talk about this in the podcast we did on design and through the decades. And I feel like every decade, every generation where you see like this like swing and design and like trends and things, there's some bad, but I feel like there's good to be taken out of each of them. And so wherever you land, as far as like whatever year your home was built, you know, there's good there. There's probably some bad too that you get to extract, but I think there's some good that you could celebrate and just accentuate that. I think that's part of reinventing tradition.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, yeah.
I love that. That's so great. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us for our fall market recap. I hope there was something in here for you as you're kind of watching what's coming and going. I know we're all trying to not make decisions that we'll regret, especially decisions for the home that seem very permanent. So anyway, this is a little bit of what's to come. We'll see how it hits your market, when it hits your market, but it's something that we're seeing now and we're excited for it. We will catch you guys next time. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like our show, please leave a 5-star rating.